I'm finally out on Cristobal. I'm finally
Thank
out.
you.
I'm finally out on Cristobal. I can't keep doing it. Look, Drake May is a guy that I think we got to give some consideration to. I got
right.
well, we got to say this. We were talking about this in the pre-show. I did not realize how soft North Carolina's schedule was.
Oh, it's very favorable.
It's very favorable. So in saying that, they could find themselves in the ACC championship game.
They really benefited from their scheduling rotation.
Yep.
That they don't have to play Florida State. I don't think that they play Clemson. No, wait, we were talking about this earlier. They do play Clemson. But still, not having to play Florida State is huge for them.
Watch Clemson claw their way back in there.
That's going to piss me off.
Well,
that also ruins things for the outlook of the rest of the season, because then there's probably not an ACC team that goes to the playoff if they climb their way back and they go to the ACC championship game. But you're talking about here with UNC, though.
Yep. UNC, Miami.
Yeah.
Joe, I just don't get it. Like, I don't. Now, there's so much I want to say about Cristobal, but at the same time, I feel like you got to let him build a little bit, because I think Miami was in a really bad spot. But yeah. I will admit, I did not account for Tez Walker to be this good this quickly. Being off the last 6 weeks, I just didn't think he'd come back looking like that. And Tez Walker, 3-touchdown game, looked fantastic. That offense is really good. I poo-pooed on Gene Chizik, and I got egg on my face. I got to walk that back. I thought Gene Chizik had a really bad call defense a year ago. He did. Didn't think they'd turn it around. They did. They are not a bad team. I just don't think they're a playoff team yet, but a good win against Miami. Drake May continues to impress.
I could kind of see them being that TCU this year that just runs the table. It looks good enough, and then maybe doesn't really show up for the playoff. But to talk about, I don't know how much more credit I really give that to Gene Chizik than us just being reminded of what I tried to explain to everybody going into the week. That Tyler Van Dyke's a liability. Look, I'm just going to keep this really simple. I'm not going to take the victory lap.
They've been doing this to everybody, though. I mean, at some point, you got to say they're
True.
better defensively. That's are better defensively than they were a year ago.
They absolutely are. I think that defensive unit really proved a lot to us. I'm done talking about Tyler Van Dyke, though, dude. I'm so annoyed with myself that I let the Miami fans get in my head after he had that singular good game. The guy is not good. The interceptions that he threw were so unbelievably stupid. I don't understand why a fan base is so supportive of a guy who is so mediocre. It is unbelievable how bad he is. He's not a good quarterback. But again, I'm done talking about him. We're moving past it because I want to talk about what this means for North Carolina. Because as you said, Mario Cristobal, this is only year 2. He has done a great job of recruiting. He is an amazing recruiter.
And will continue to recruit.
There is a lot of time for this thing to get figured out. I think that there's a lot of positive signs for Miami. I think eventually they're going to be a really good team. They're building up some really, really nice depth. On the case for UNC, though, you hit the nail on the head on my main takeaway. Tez Walker was the missing piece because they looked really strong offensively. Bryson Nesbitt, some of these receivers were making some big plays. A couple guys were going off. It was never the same guy. But I think that Tez Walker really welcomed himself to ACC football play, and he is going to continue to ascend and be a dominant player in this conference the rest of the way. Not a lot of guys can cover him. He's got a size advantage. He's a great athlete. He will go up and rip the ball out of the air in the red zone.
And look,
that is what they needed.
Still there. McCollum was going off before then too. They got two very legit receivers, man.
And they have probably the most accurate and consistent quarterback throwing them the football. And a guy that ball just shoots off of Drake May's hand. He is taking a step forward.
I don't know how he look. I know this is gonna be a hot take. I know that there's some scouts out there that take him over Caleb Williams.
I've heard that. Admittedly, I have heard that. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think
teams that are probably thinking that are probably not going to be in that position to draft first overall.
Why do I feel like, and North Carolina fans are going to kill me for this, and that's okay. Why do I feel like North Carolina's just not that? great. Like, why do I not get that feel of a Washington? Why do I not get that feel of a? Why do I just feel like, man, you're gonna slip up and lose one? Why do I have that pit in my stomach that, like, man, I just don't know if you're a complete team.
Well, this is a comment that's going to piss some people off, I'm sure. It's because they're an ACC team. I don't mean to be negative, and my team's technically an ACC team, but it's just for whatever reason, ACC teams just don't always finish seasons. There's always a bump in the road that derails a good ACC team.
They have a favorable schedule though.
They do, and I'm very wary that they slip up against somebody. I don't know why. I have that same feeling.
So you have that same feeling.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Their defense looked really good, but the way that they let Miami kind of come back into it, I think that their secondary might be weaker than we think it is. But maybe I'm making a wrong assumption there. I'm not totally sold on that take, but maybe they face somebody who can air the ball out and has nothing to lose. Like, I want to look at the rest of the schedule really quick, but it's really possible. Maybe it's because it's Mac Brown. Maybe I'm just hating on Mac Brown. Maybe that team that does do it to him, maybe it's Georgia Tech like last year. I don't think Duke could do it. It could be Clemson.
Maybe. Look, I don't want to take away from the winning team. They're undefeated. They're going to be a top 10 team. They deserve to be a top 10 team. They're more than halfway into the season undefeated. They're one of the only undefeated teams left. I just don't know how far. Like, Joe, I still think that there's one, maybe even some 2 lost teams that I think are better than them. It is of my opinion that your record does not always say how good you are or bad you are as a team. I mean, we went through halfway through the year and USC was undefeated. And so I just look at them and ask myself the question, how good are you? Because Miami is why they are a good team, or while they are a good team, I should say. Van Dyke made some bad throws, like throwing right to the linebacker. But at the same time, that D line from North Carolina is not bad at all. They're
good.
They're good. So I just feel like if they were in or had another team schedule, that they might be a 9-3 team, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. One thing I will admit, nobody Miami was not prepared for Tez Walker. They just weren't.
No.
They did not have an answer. Even when they bracket covered him, even when they doubled him, he still was getting wide ass open. Maybe he should get the chain that Jamar Chase has that calls himself 7-11, because he was always open.
And it seems like a really simple take, but one of my go-to takes that I have, and I'm going to continue to say on this show, if you have a quarterback who can stretch the field vertically, has a big arm that the ball gets out quick and it gets there in an instant, and you've got receivers who can stretch the field vertically, and you can consistently make that connection, you're going to be a very tough offense to stop.